Hi, my name is Will and welcome to the Drum Room Sessions for today. We have some special guests up from Wellington. We have Scorn of Creation. How are you guys?
Good dude.
Good. Could you guys introduce yourselves and the missing member?
I'm Seth, the guitarist for Scorn of Creation.
Chris, vocalist.
Shaun, play drums.
Excellent.
This is George, bassist.
Hi, George. Invisible George. Yeah. You're up in Auckland because you're playing Whammy tonight, and I believe you're playing Christchurch tomorrow and Dunedin as well.
Yeah.
You don't have a Wellington gig on this bill. Is there any reason for that?
Pretty much the reason we did that was because when we set the tour up, the dates that we wanted to, that kind of worked for us, and the ones we wanted to do, the 1, 2, 3, November 1st, 2nd and 3rd for Auckland, Christchurch and Dunedin, we got an offer to open for the Black Dahlia Murder in Wellington around pretty much the same time. Mm. So for us it was like, do we do that and then do another date like a week later in Wellington? And it seemed kind of counterproductive. Yeah. For us, our whole approach is quality over quantity. So
it's not a good idea to play the same sort of centre too often.
No, I don't think so. I agree with that.
Could we talk about the formation of the band? When did the band actually kick off?
The band kind of formed over a couple of years between George and myself. Like a couple of ideas for projects, but we could never find the right band name or the right kind of. We always knew what we wanted to do, like musically, but as far as the visual concept and the band name and things like that, we never really had any kind of good ideas for that. And I wasn't gigging and playing any bands regularly, so I joined Bullet Bout and started doing touring and playing a little bit with that, which kind of kick-started me into deciding that I wanted to finally start this project up. And George and I pulled together some old ideas from old songs and things like that and started writing the songs and the music, and then we got the concept and ideas together. And I came up with a name, just popped into my head, and and then I looked it up online and no one in the world had it, which was amazing, and which is insanely rare. Sent it to him, and for once he wasn't like, that's shit. So we were like, cool, we got a name. As soon as that happened, then George hit up Shaun, who had been thinking about the whole time as the drummer, and Shaun was like, yeah man, I'm into that, just straightforward death metal kind of crap.
Well, I mean, Shaun's one of the few drummers that can pull it off.
Yeah,
properly, really.
Yeah. And I heard us playing, and I was like, yeah, okay.
Country.
Me and George have been trying to get together and do a band for like the last 11 years, I think.
Yeah, so it's the whole thing. It's all spread out.
We did have one for a little while.
Yeah.
What was that one called?
Mindfuck.
Good name.
Yeah, with me, George, Shaun, Ashton Sellers, who's more jazz based, he's Rocket Flower, and Alex Beer, and it was really good and really intense, and we did 2 gigs and then we broke up. That was it.
I would imagine if you did a search for the name Mindfuck, you'd probably find it sort of across the world.
Yeah,
not like
wasn't that many. There wasn't that many in bands. But we still get views on our Facebook page every now and then. There's still activity.
So you've got a split of vinyl coming out at some point once you reach a certain amount of pre-sales. What was the concept for that album? Was there in fact a concept?
Yeah, it didn't originally start out that way. But with the title and the sort of imagery that we were going for, it seemed like there could be room to play around with concepts, and so it sort of went down this path of writing a story that's sort of loosely based on like Dante's Inferno, travelling into hell and through the layers, but our title character takes over hell and then starts his own war against heaven, and that's sort of the idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Short stories, chapters, basically.
And Chris came in quite late in the musical process, so he came in with that, and it was...
So the music was already kind of done?
It was finishing up, and Chris just came straight in there and came up with the concept and the idea, and so many lyrics, and then just... and then we refined it a bit, and then it came out like it did.
So how long did it take you to kind of, shall we say, finalise the lyrics?
Yeah, it was fast. The whole process was, for the whole album, was really fast.
I guess the concept itself was the thing that took the longest to sort of come up with, and then once that was established, perhaps it took a life of its own.
I think it was a thing of also trying to figure out what I wanted to write about and what I wanted to be sort of putting out there, and moving away from gore and things like that, and maybe talking about religion, but also not being too overtly any sort of side, but yeah, I don't know, just trying to come up with something interesting and creative and actually, give it some meaning and point, I guess.
I think it's good when a band sort of takes the lyrics a little more seriously.
Yeah.
Because I mean, to be honest, quite often you can't really discern what's being said.
Yeah.
But when you do actually sit down with some lyrics, or if you're into a particular band, and you really want to find out, and then the lyrics end up just being garbage. It's kind of
Oh, for sure.
it kind of guts your whole interest in the band.
I am 34 now, and
Old man, eh?
I know, an old man.
We're
But
24 and I'm 22.
Yeah, but the idea of just sort of writing bullshit throwaway lyrics didn't really seem that appealing.
No, I mean I would say that it's a good idea to sort of put all of your effort into it and make it the best you can. Because
for sure.
How many albums do you have in you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like it becomes more like poetry. Like you're listening to the album and you're reading the concept, you're reading through each song, and it kind of brings you into the world more so than just, as you say, just kind of childish stuff.
Plus, you're going to have to sing them over and over again. Yeah. And if they're really rubbish, they're going to really bug you after a while.
Totally.
Yeah, I was stoked on that.
Just get the old thing going on and not say shit.
So you released a music video on, when was it, in July? It was called Behold the Fallen. I've seen it a few times. It's very good.
Cheers.
Do you have any stories about the production of it or the creation of it?
Yeah, so we kind of pulled that together through a friend of George here, and he he had somebody through his study that he knows who'd done our photo shoot for our just when we first formed the band and stuff like that. And yeah, he had a 4K camera and he offered to come and do it quite kind of cheap, and seemed like he had a lot of experience and he was quite good at what he did. So yeah, we kind of kicked it off with that.
Okay.
We used a venue and blacked out all the walls so you wouldn't know where it was and stuff like that, and set that all up with props from kind of around the place. And then me and Chris went out and did some filming through forests and things like that, and of random little stock kind of images of gross stuff to kind of chuck it through to So it's kind of like a combined effort, and then we kind of mixed, edited it, and stuff like that.
So back to the splatter vinyl. I pre-ordered one, and I think it said on the post that you need to get sort of a certain amount of pre-orders before you will press them, because obviously they're expensive.
Yeah.
I think it said 100. Is that still planned?
At this point, I think we could probably, if we can get to 50, we're sort of nearing that.
Oh, pretty close, yeah.
Then we can at least get everybody who's pre-ordered so far sorted out.
So everyone, please go out and buy one of those so I can get my album. That'd be
good.
Sweet.
I think what we're going to do with it is, at the point it's at now, I would say we could get it out and ready to go early next year,
right.
even if we didn't get any more. But that would be quite costly for us as a band. But so ideally, if we get more, then it's sooner and
Sure.
it's.
I have the digital package anyway, so I'm able to listen to the songs.
Yeah. Well, everybody who pre-orders a vinyl gets that, gets a digital download. So they get to listen to it straight away. It's just having that vinyl. Yeah.
So 2019 is just around the corner. So would you like to elaborate on any of your plans in the pipe?
We want to basically take a little bit of time to step back, learn from what we've done in 2018 with our first release, and work on kind of taking it another step up as far as the material we're producing.
Refining it.
A little bit longer, more refined, a bit more polished and stuff like that. And we've grown and developed as a band a little bit as well. Now we know really what we want to do live and stuff like that. And there's a few things like, it'd be cooler to have a bit more of that, and a little bit less of that, and things like that. So a bit of downtime for us to do that. And we recording things in a slightly nicer recording facility and things like that, and there's some cool ideas for what we want conceptually as well.
I found that most of your songs are relatively short.
Yes,
They're quite.
That
of them.
That album was very punchy.
Yeah. So are you looking at perhaps expanding the length of your songs and making them a little more epic, like our Depths, of course?
Kind of, yeah. Like we still want to have a few of those because that would be true to the style of the band, and people like that first album, the people that did like it. So we want to have some of that stuff in there as well. But more, the reason we did that with the music for the first one was we were a new band, and we wanted to have a set that was good, opening set for internationals, and also something, an album you put on and play, and by the end you're like, that was awesome, I want to listen to that again, rather than skipping songs,
Yeah.
And then once people start getting into the sound of the band, and they know what they're ready for, and they know what they want to listen to, we can start building it a bit more, and that's kind of the idea for the next thing.
Expand on
Pretty much, yeah.
on your sound. All right, cool. And since one guy in the corner there is very quiet, I've got a question for him. What gear are you going to be playing tonight at Whammy?
So I'm super fortunate to be working alongside Ben Klinkenberg, who's making K-drums, which is like drums made of native New Zealand timber. So he's going to be bringing along a drum kit for me to use tonight, and he's recently made me a full Remu drum set.
It's a Remu stave kit, right?
Yep.
So the bass drum is also a stave kit.
Mm-hmm.
It's a stave bass drum. So they are ridiculously heavy, are they not?
So surprisingly, these ones are like super light, lighter than the pill kit that I own,
Really?
which is like an 8-ply bass drum. So he made them as thin as he possibly could and put maple reinforcing hoops inside the bass drum, so they resonate a lot as well.
Okay, so how much involvement did you have with the design of the kit itself?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about sound, and he sort of recommended that Remu was probably the best wood to go with. It's the one he's the most familiar working with as well.
I would say Remu's not quite as dense as some timbers. I mean, it is a hardwood, but it's not quite as hard as some hardwoods. So you would get a bit more of a sort of a maple tone to it, perhaps?
Yeah, it's kind of warmish,
Right.
but it's quite punchy as well at the same time. I think the stave drums are...
Staves are pretty, they're pretty direct. I've got
That's right,
a stave snare somewhere, and that thing is
Yeah.
it's real loud. Doesn't have a lot of character. All right, cool. And which cymbals are you using?
I am endorsed by a company from the States called TRX.
TRX, that's right. No, I remember when you first got them. Actually, I think it was it Zeal?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, Zeal, and I was admiring them. I think you like didn't want me to touch them. The look on your face looked like, go away. I was like, man, these cymbals are very shiny.
Yeah, no.
So,
fantastic. Yeah.
will all the bands be using that kit tonight, or do you think we'll reserve that?
I don't know yet.
Yeah,
Whammy's not a particularly big venue, so like doing load-ons and load-offs could be
so that could be
complicated.
there could be the potential of that being the overall sound of the night. So
Awesome.
could be kind of cool.
Lucky for all the other drummers, eh? Cool.
Not
So
so much for Shaun.
do you actually have a K-drums kit at home or at your
Yep, I have.
practice space?
I have two. So I have a smaller bebop kit with like an 18-inch bass drum, 12, 14 toms, which I've been using recently on another tour, like a jazz tour. And then just recently I got the Remu kit, which is 2 bass drums, 2 22s, 18, 12, 14, 16.
Okay, so it's a 7-piece?
Yeah.
7-piece kit, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4,
8.
5.
8 drums.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So is there anything else you guys would like to add to the interview before we sign off?
Yeah, just that we will be taking a bit of a hiatus for a little while.
Buy vinyl.
And by vinyl, basically. But no, more so, yeah. So we'll have a little bit of a time when we're not playing shows and things like that, and we're working on material and getting these vinyls out and things like that. So these shows are the last shows we'll be doing for a little bit.
For 2018 at least.
Almost probably 6 months or something.
Right.
Like, depends. Like,
We'll see.
depends what happens if we get good opening slots, things like that, or while we're doing it. But as far as us doing headlining shows and things like that, it's a little bit of a break. So yeah, if you're into the band, it's kind of the last time you can get to see it live for a little bit.
No. Sure. Okay. Well, thanks very much for coming all the way out to West Auckland.
Yeah, cheers,
All
man.
good.
And best luck for the shows over the next few days.
Thanks, man.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cheers.
thanks.
Thanks for
Cheers for
watching.
having us.
Catch you later.